Hey Amarillo, I'm Skylar Gallup, and you're listening to Hey Amarillo, the interview podcast featuring some of the most interesting people and stories of Amarillo, Texas. We record every week at Amarillo College's Innovation Outpost. The IO supports education, workforce development, and industry growth by inspiring and facilitating innovation in the Texas Panhandle. Today's guest is Adam Leathers. Adam works in community impact and seems to always have. From migrant farm workers in Colorado to inmates in Oklahoma, and now with the United Way of Amarillo and Canyon, Adam is drawn to helping those around him and has expert insight on the complexities of struggle and what we too can do to help those around us. Here's Adam. I'm here with Adam Leathers. Adam, thanks so much for joining us and welcome to the Hey Amarillo podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Happy to have you. So let's start. I always like to say, let's begin with the beginning. Mm-hmm. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Lamar, Colorado. It's a little town in southeastern Colorado, kind of a rural community. Grew up there and went to Adams State in Alamosa, Colorado, and got a couple business degrees, and then kind of started my journey from there.
Cool. So small town in Colorado. Now, Lamar is off the mountains.
Yes, that's correct. It's a stone's throw from Kansas, so it's really just an extension of Kansas, effectively.
Right. What did you go to school for?
Marketing and advertising. Went and did that, and later I went to seminary in Kansas City, Missouri, to St. Paul's School of Theology. It's a United Methodist seminary. Okay.
I'm always interested to hear what drives people into seminary. Were you raised in the church, very church-oriented family? And talk about that decision.
Sort of. I was kind of raised in the church. We were kind of Creasters, so we would go to church on Christmas and Easter usually.
Oh, okay. I love that.
Yeah, that's kind of insider vernacular. So we weren't really steeped in it. Right after I graduated my undergrad, I worked at a nonprofit radio station for a year.
Cool.
And it's called KRZA in Alamosa, Colorado. And it originally began to give voice to migrant workers. So it kind of stood for KRZA. And I kind of got into the nonprofit community there and volunteered with an organization called La Puente, which was kind of a food bank, among other things. I just kind of felt sort of a call to work with marginalized folks. I pastored. Ultimately, I really didn't want to spend my entire life pastoring, but it was just kind of a way to get into that.
Is there a large migrant farm worker community up there in Colorado?
In Alamosa in particular, yeah.
Okay.
There's a really big one. There's a huge mushroom place they grow.
Okay.
Which, fun fact, mushrooms, they typically grow them in turkey poop, so the entire place smelled like that. So
wow.
it was kind of weird.
It is like 9:06 in the morning, and I've learned my new thing for the day.
Mushrooms grow in turkey poop.
Turkey poop. Right. I can't wait to tell my children. They will love that.
There was a big migrant population up there, and I saw a lot of injustice with a lot of folks there. So there was one particular gentleman. His first name's Francisco. He was undocumented, and he was being paid not legally, and they asked him. He was kind of bagging the mushrooms, and somebody else was putting them in the truck, and he kind of did that all day long. And they asked him to go ahead and put them in the truck as well, kind of doubling all of his efforts without paying him more. And they said, it's either that or it's either that or not.
Yeah.
And it was very frustrating, and I really just, like I said, got a call to kind of care about those who really can't care for themselves, I guess.
What year-abouts was this? When were you doing this work?
That was early 2000s.
Okay.
So.
Great. I'm interested in how that translated. So this was before you moved into seminary.
Yeah.
So you went into seminary. And was that sort of a parlay from your wanting to, or like kind of getting the bug of wanting to help people?
It was, yeah, very much. It kind of transitioned into that, and I thought the church was kind of the best place to start in doing that. When I was in seminary, I was associate pastor of a congregation for unhoused people. And it was downtown Kansas City. It was called Grand Avenue Temple. And it's Kansas City, Missouri. It's right across the street from the courthouse, so it is downtown. and it's this huge, magnificent church building. And it used to be sort of Kansas City's aristocratic church, where all the movers and shakers went. And white flight occurred, and the downtown became what a lot of downtowns do in larger cities. And they kind of shifted to being an unhoused population. And that's really, really was formative for me. Growing up in a very rural community, I know there's unhoused people, but I probably was unaware of it.
Sure.
And I really got immersed into a world that I hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So heard a lot of painful stories as a result. Mm-hmm. It was a cool ministry. At night, we had a domestic violence shelter that wonderfully they were so protective of that I never got to be a part of it, and that was great because they had a pretty strict no guys policy, which was awesome. I was
cool. No dudes allowed.
Yeah, happy to be told no, you can't come in, and that was awesome. We also had, it wasn't a clothing closet per se, it was called the Lazarus Boutique. And as are a lot of them now, it was set up to feel like a shopping experience. Yeah. So the senior pastor's wife kind of decorated it like they would go through and just kind of choose things like anybody else.
Not like rummaging through boxes, right?
Very much, yeah.
That's neat.
Dignity was a big part of it.
That's cool.
And of course, we fed them and had worship service and whatnot. I got to preach every once in a while, and it was cool. They would become really impassioned because it was also a way to just get out of the cold or get out of the heat, and it was just kind of a safe place for them.
Yeah. How long did you associate pastor there?
2 years, I think.
Okay.
So it was a lot of wild stuff. We would have a fist fight every once in a while. We had to break up.
Yep.
Definitely saw the majority of the women there were sex workers just by nature. Mm-hmm. I think the stat is in the United States, 5 out of 6 homeless people are male for that reason, because very often a lot of the women have a source of income.
I see.
Or they living with a guy or whatnot.
Sure.
So definitely saw kind of a different side of life there.
Yeah. I always think it's really valuable to hear from people who have that sort of very intimate frontline experience with those populations that I think are so easily very, very misunderstood by people who've never, really, really gotten in the dirt and done some really close work. What were you left with understanding better about people that find themselves in some of those situations?
Excellent question. How disturbingly close most of the population is to it. Really, there's several different causes of homelessness. Yeah. And with these folks, they just had 2 or 3 things that occurred at once that most people in this country will experience at least once. Divorce was a really big one. Addiction obviously played a role. Mental health issues played a role. Previous abuse, arrests, not being able to get a job, a lot of stuff that so many of us have experienced. They just 2 or 3 happen all at once, and it's, I think what the average American doesn't have $1,000 in their savings account. It really just can occur to anybody, much easier than one would think.
That challenges my kind of walking around the world knowledge or, assumptions, that any, you just stack a couple of those on and you're in a real bad place.
Very much. Yeah. It definitely.
I think we have a false sense of security.
That's a good way to put it.
And that really kind of puts you on check of that.
Very much. It puts you on check on that. It definitely makes a person realize their privilege.
Yeah. How wouldn't happen to me.
Yeah.
Right.
We all think that.
Of course.
It's always going to be somebody else. And I don't think anybody who's unhoused really plans thinking, I hope I live on the street one day. So it was.
I know we're going to talk a lot more about it once we get into your current role at the United Way, because they're focusing really kind of on that borderline insecurity, which I think is really, really valuable work. So let's put a pin in it.
Sure.
You're leaving why did you leave ministry?
I went from, and I'll get to why. After I graduated, I went into prison ministry, and real similar population.
You're just kind of a glutton for punishment, right?
I guess so.
You just find really hard things to work on.
Rewarding, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is the other side of that coin.
Can be tough, yeah. Hear a lot of stories. Again, it makes one very grateful for one's life. After leaving prison ministry, I then
Where were you doing prison ministry?
In Oklahoma City.
Okay, so now you're in Oklahoma, and are you moving around just for the jobs?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the United Methodist Church, I was in the annual conference, and we're itinerant, which means we don't really choose where we move to.
Okay.
We're kind of appointed, and churches really don't hire their own pastor. The prison ministry, I was the executive director of it. There wasn't a lot of competition. People really didn't want to do it. And I was, understandably, so I was happy to do that. After that, I got a little burnout from that after 4 years.
Talk about that experience. So in Oklahoma City?
Yeah.
So the big prison.
Very much.
Yeah.
So it was a statewide nonprofit. It was called CJAM,
Okay.
Criminal Justice and Mercy Ministries. And it was statewide, and we had 3 churches for prison inmates and their families. So in Oklahoma, you have maximum, medium, minimum, and then what they call community. And community, which is where most inmates in Oklahoma are, they effectively live at the prison, except they can leave to go to their job and they can leave to go to church. And so we had 3 churches: Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Lawton. And I pastored the one in Oklahoma City. And it was one of the fastest growing churches. It never let it go to my head because it was an opportunity to get out of prison. So they were pretty thrilled. There were other churches that catered to that clientele, but we were the only co-ed one, which lent itself to a lot of stressors. But it was also very popular because of that. And in addition, we also had a couple of transitional living facilities for people just getting out of prison, one in Tulsa and Oklahoma City. And they were the only ones that were completely rent-free to folks. They would qualify, and if they graduated the program, usually 6 months to a year, they would leave with all their furniture that we stocked it with. So
cool.
It had a great recidivism rate. I think 5% of our graduates ever went back to prison. And we also we had some standards. We couldn't accept essays because we had kids on the premises. But we really tried to focus on folks who have been in prison a lot, kind of high recidivism rates. The guy who started it, his kind of ethos, and I agree with this, was we really don't want the choir boys, who already have a system, family, or people around them who are going to give them success.
Keep them out, yeah.
Yeah, we tried to keep them out. And the third and the funnest part of it was we had a couple of summer camps for children of incarcerated parents.
Wow.
Called New Day Camp. We didn't come up with it in Oklahoma. The Episcopalian Church started it. We just copied it effectively.
Sure, yeah.
We had one for younger kids and one for older kids, and definitely got to see a different side of life then too. It was not a traditional summer camp. It was extremely structured for obvious reasons. But we did have a policy: kids don't get sent home under any circumstances. Because if we were to kind of go down that slippery slope, we'd probably end up sending almost all of them home. They were all difficult to be around kids. So after that, I got burnt out on that and pastored a little country church in Oklahoma. And my leaving the ministry was, I would call it kind of a mutual breakup. That I kind of decided, don't really think I'm what the church is looking for, and they're not really what I'm looking for. So in my last appointment, we were getting some new folks in and growing, but I don't think it was the kind of people they necessarily wanted.
Okay.
So there was kind of a mutual breakup. It was civil, and kind of left it from there. And
that's the best kind.
I think so too. Yeah. So there's no bitterness on my part. I hope it's not on theirs. I did see the power that organized faith can do, but also it's become, I think, very exclusionary. And so I don't think I've rejected it or renounced it by any means, but I think it's really kind of exists to sustain itself as opposed to reaching out to those who need.
Interesting.
So
I'm interested to hear, it totally could just be my lack of knowledge around kind of the supports for incarcerated people and people that are transitioning out of incarceration. But the programs that you work for seem like very, very supportive and intentional. And I think that we hear a lot today about like profiting off of prison systems and some of that stuff. Are the programs that you were a part of, does that occur often, or is that like an Oklahoma thing? Like, are there cooler policies in Oklahoma to like lower recidivism rates? That's an incredibly difficult word to say. Or, is that like, does that happen a lot and we just don't know about it?
I think so. Yeah.
Cool.
Oklahoma, there
That's
was also
great.
a higher need for it.
Okay.
Oklahoma, it's really depressing, and in so many categories, number 50 at things you don't want to be last at, and number 1 at things you don't want to be first at.
It's a tough state.
And so in Oklahoma, it's the number 1 state for imprisoning women. It's the highest domestic abuse state in the country. I think was either 3rd or 4th for incarcerating men. So it was really born out of just a serious need. They put a lot of people in prison, and it's been interesting. I did some advocacy there to talk to people on all sides. The corrections officers in Oklahoma were, God bless them, it's got to be the hardest job in the world. Incredibly difficult to staff because they don't pay them much of anything, but they'll only hire you if you've never been arrested or convicted of anything. So it's a real narrow swath of people
Shallow pool.
they can find. And even speaking with a lot of the judges felt they had their hands tied by minimum sentences. I've never known a judge who thinks those are a good idea. I really got to see it from all of those sides. I got to see it from the police force. A lot of our volunteers at New Day Camp, we would get cops to come do and volunteer. They didn't disclose what they did for a living to the kids. But they were kind of the perfect group of people to keep things calm, but also a lot of them had these pretty guilty consciences that they had to go take these kids out. They had to go take dad and put him in prison for a drug charge or something they didn't really personally believe in. They kind of had to. And so I saw a lot of empathy for even the system that would cause it, and even a lot of the senators we would talk to, and representative state senators and state reps, we would talk to about changing laws or changing the system. And so many of them would look me in the eye and say, Reverend Adam, I'd love to, but I wouldn't get reelected. So it was really it's really easy to kind of pin the entire system on one group of people, but ultimately I would say it's voters is ultimately kind of who causes this situation.
I also think it's really valid for you to humanize not only the people that are negative, like directly negatively affected by the systems in which we live, but the people that live in it that can't change them.
Very much.
The police officers and the reps and, those people. Also, if you're working within a challenging system, to be on that side of it and perhaps feel a bit helpless.
Very much. That's what I discovered. Like I said, it's easy to kind of demonize them, and there's certainly plenty of blame to go around.
Sure.
I also understand with my demographic, it's pretty easy to not be frightened of police officers. I'm a white dude, but I did see a lot of people who were caught up in it who would have loved to change it, but they just felt their hands tied. And like I said, it ultimately goes back to just kind of the general mentality of corporate mentality of the people. It's kind of what causes it.
Yeah, I think empathy and grace go a long way.
Yes, very much. Yeah, very much. Yeah, United Methodist Church is all about grace. So that's
yeah. Okay, so where'd you go next? You were in little. What did you call it? A hometown church?
Yeah, just a small country church.
Yeah, country church. I love it.
And after that, we moved to West Texas.
Yeah, where at?
Or to Canyon, where we still live, my wife and I. And that was for...
It's a hot take calling it West Texas up here.
Oh, well, I was
I agree with it.
But West Texas A&M is where she works.
Okay, so, there we go.
It's the Panhandle.
Okay.
And we moved here for her job. And
what's she do? What's her work?
She's executive director of undergraduate admissions.
Cool.
And so currently she's over international admissions.
Fun.
Very, very much complicated, certainly. And so I won't tell any of her stories, but she has plenty to disclose.
I have to have her on.
Yes, very much. I'll let her know that. She'd be a fun interview.
Good. So you guys moved to Canyon.
Moved to Canyon for her job. And the first year when we purchased homes, we've tried to find a nice neighborhood, but find the most dilapidated home in a nice neighborhood for me to renovate.
Oh, and cool. So, you have that skill set?
Yeah, I grew up doing construction and whatnot.
Sweet.
And so my first year here, I did that, kind of putting out feelers and waiting for a nonprofit job to come along. And then almost a year to the day after, I had a couple offers, one with WT.
Cool.
In their philanthropy department, and at United Way of Amarillo and Canyon, and kind of weighed my options and decided I don't really know if all I want to do is just raise money. I think it would be easy maybe if I were to do it at my alma mater, where I felt a a lot of connection to.
Sure, that makes sense.
And so I interviewed with United Way of Amarillo and Canyon, and the executive director at the time asked me a great question, and she disclosed it's one of the reasons I got the job. And ever since then, anyone I've interviewed, I always ask this question.
Okay.
And it really puts a person on the spot, as it did for me. So it's not a sense of hazing, but it's a little hazing. It's why are poor people poor?
Oh.
And it's really kind of confronts you and hits you between the eyes. And we've, in our interviews, have heard great responses, typically circumstances and things beyond people's control. There's a variety of things that contribute to it, but it was kind of cool to hear that question. I definitely felt like this seems like the right place for me. So,
what is your answer?
Circumstances.
Yeah.
Things that are beyond people's control. It's easy to pin things on work ethic.
Right.
And yeah, that certainly, what is it? There's a quote, I think by Thomas Jefferson, the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. And we all know that. But from my experience, we've seen so many hardworking people who just cannot get ahead no matter what they do. And that particularly goes for the Alice population that we really try to focus on. So
Yeah.
They're asset limited, income constrained, and employed. And those are folks who live above the federal poverty line. And I think the federal poverty line was 1969 when it was established, something.
No clue.
And they've changed it based on inflation every year.
Yeah.
But really, other than that, they haven't changed it. I feel it's way exponentially too low. But Alice folks live above that, so they typically don't qualify for many government assistance. But they can't make ends meet. We always describe these families as they're really one flat tire away from being able not to make a mortgage payment. They're just not able to. And in Potter County, 54% of people are either in Alice or live in poverty, which is a really, I think, one of the most striking statistics we've discovered. So the majority of Potter County is not okay, for lack of a better way to put it.
I first learned about the Alice population a couple of years ago, and I think that so the United Way has identified that as like you guys' target area of work.
Very much.
How long ago was that? It's been like a couple years, right?
About 3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah. I think in some ways that can become kind of like a talking point. And so anytime I have an opportunity to like talk to people about this population of people, I think it's really helpful, like slow it down so that people understand how many people fall into that. So asset limited, income constrained, but employed.
Employed, yeah.
And when you really kind of like take a minute to think about what that looks like, it is so many of us and so many of our neighbors, and so much, as you said, more than half of Potter County are that potential one flat tire away from then being, in the congregations that you served back in Kansas City.
Very much, yeah. They are that close, and it's hard to wrap one's mind around it. As you alluded to earlier, we're living out our lives and kind of walking down the street and unaware. But yeah, when you hear that the majority of people are either in poverty or living in that situation, a lot of folks, I think even in Alice, may or may not even be fully aware.
Totally, yeah, for sure.
That there's, that there could be a better way to live if the barriers were removed. That they can't remove themselves. So it's been interesting when we would go fundraise, how we've tried to be really sensitive, recognizing not to talk about those people and, got to help those people over there. Really, each other.
They're in the room.
Yeah, they're in the room. Statistically, more likely than not.
Exactly.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. So I always hate asking questions like this. What are y'all doing about it? How do you?
Excellent question.
How do you look at such a, how do you look at an issue that is affecting more than half of our population and get to work as the United Way does?
The excellent question. The first thing we convene a community status report every year.
Yep.
Which really tries to delineate the stats on what are the barriers that are preventing people. We'll go ask people what the barriers are too. Our program providers, it's one of the things that we really encourage them to do and get a report from them. Ask their folks what's putting you in this position of, if you only had one flat tire, you'd be in dire straits. We then fund programs that remove the barriers. We do health, education, income, and basic needs, and youth as well. And we try to, and there's never a right answer to this, whether you want to be upstream or downstream, whether you want to try to stop the hemorrhaging or prevent the injury.
Yeah.
We really do try at both ends.
Yeah.
Try to remove barriers, do preventative measures. Maverick, for example, is one of those.
I love the Maverick.
Very much me too. And it's kind of both. It's really trying to set kids up for success, but it's also childcare for lower income people.
Yep, give them a place to be.
Very much. And childcare is a massive, massive barrier. Oh, goodness. One that in our community status report, I've worked with a statistician that developed it, and it's still hard to believe just how much that plays into people's lives.
I would love to tell you about Ingenic Dental Studio here in town. Dr. Jake Motery is my family's dentist, and he and his staff give us just the best family dental experience. But his practice and expertise go so much further than my kids' cavities and my routine cleanings. Dr. Motery specializes in cosmetic and implant dentistry. And I've seen some of the work he's done, and it is just gorgeous. It's not over the top, very natural looking, but his results really change a person's whole look. So if you're looking for family or personal dental care, or for a more aesthetically enhancing experience, check out Ingenic Dental Studio online or at their location on Georgia Street, right next to Market Street and Steak Express. That's Ingenic Dental Studio. They're a supporter of the podcast and do really great work. So talk about some of the issues, some of those barriers that you guys have identified through really intentional and high quality data and research, which I think is always so important whenever you, work in areas of community impact, is to start with the data. And I know that you guys do that with the impact report. So what are those barriers in our community? Yeah,
definitely childcare. Transportation is another one. Transportation's notoriously difficult. I don't really know what we can do about it, but that's a real problem for a lot of people. Healthcare is a real problem for a lot of people. There's also kind of an educational component of navigating, I don't believe in the bootstrap myth at all, which is the nicest word I can think of to call it.
Yeah.
But there's also a lack of education on what you can do in your own life to really kind of help yourself. So one of them is Goodwill. That works with people to put together basic skill sets, resumes, how to apply for a job, how to start a bank account, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's been a couple months now, but I had a resident of Transformation Park on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I learned that the Goodwill, and I think I'm a pretty involved member of my community. I had no idea.
I think so, yeah.
Thank you. I had no idea that Goodwill did literally anything other than their store.
Yeah.
Which I feel bad saying that, but it's just the honest truth. And the resident that I had in, he put his resume together. He got connected to his first job. I mean, the Goodwill was instrumental in helping him kind of get back on his feet.
Very much, and that is really common. And until I started working for United Way, that was kind of my assumption too. I really didn't know anything other than it's get inexpensive clothing there.
Well, and I think it probably proves your point about the importance of education around what's available. That's if people don't know.
Yeah, if they don't know, they don't know.
They can't access them.
Yeah, they do fantastic work in that respect, just to teach people those skills. Transformation Park, we don't directly fund them. But they're another fantastic program.
Yeah.
They do, I say we don't directly fund them. We fund a program, Area Agency on Aging, their food delivery service for older folks. And Transformation Park cooks that food.
Oh, cool.
So
nice.
That's
brilliant.
It really is. It's one of those things that we shout from the mountaintops. They're such good, humble people. But it's just one of those cool things they do that I don't think a lot of people know.
Yeah.
Mark Zimmerman's such a fantastic person. All of them are. They focus on the unhoused population so much, but yeah, they're even taking care of folks that people I don't think realize.
Yeah.
So
sometimes that's a problem with philanthropic and nonprofit work is you gotta tell your stories. You gotta brag on the work that you're doing.
You gotta brag a little. We're lucky that we have 22 programs that we fund, so we get to brag on them all the time. That's how we fundraise.
Yeah.
Is to brag on them.
Yeah.
The other component that we do as far as removing barriers, we own 211.
I love this service.
Yeah, I do too. And
Brag on it.
Absolutely, yeah. Fantastic people. It is a non-emergency based social services needs hotline that you can call. Effectively, and it's hard to even narrow down. It's everything except an emergency. As far as SNAP and benefits, they transfer to the government for that. But virtually anything else, if you need a food bank, if there's reduced health care somewhere, really anything, even where your polling place is, it really is all of that. And what's cool about 211 is they have a database. If there's a program, they know about it. It's easily the largest database in the Panhandle of different resources. It's actually accessible to anybody. It's public knowledge. You can go on and chat with somebody or just look it up yourself. Our 211 operators, though, are kind of problem solvers. So they have that human contact where somebody will call and they say, you know, my tire's flat. I'll go back to that. I don't know what to do. We're about to lose the house, blah, blah, blah. And our operators can talk to our call specialists, can say, okay, well, what's your food budget? All right, you can go here and here and get a box of food. You can go here for reduced childcare. And they try to problem solve with them. The other element that they do, and this is kind of our most direct service, it's called specific aid. And what specific aid is, it's rent assistance or utility assistance for certain people who are about to be evicted or had their stuff shut off. It is, anytime we've raised money for it, our fantastic fundraisers will ask, well, how much do you need? And the answer is always, I don't know, $30, $40 million. You're not going to raise too much. So the tough part about specific aid is it's when it's gone, the funding. So it's really, really funding specific. But we've tried to recently focus on utilities, working with Excel and Atmos. Both of those companies, I can't say enough good things about them, are really instrumental. They don't like shutting services off. And one of the things that our call specialists will tell people, if you're about to have services shut off, call them. They will do everything they can to try to work with you.
Nice.
And if a family qualifies for specific aid, then we can get the stuff shut back on. Again, we work extensively with them. They're good people. They're not. I know every corporation is, they're in it to make money, but they have people just call them, and that's something our 211 really tries to focus on.
I think I'm not quite sure that I knew that 211 was like a Panhandle specific program.
This one is every section of the state has a specific one.
Okay, cool.
Area information centers they call them. So Lubbock has theirs. Lubbock focuses on their area in the Permian Basin, and 211 is 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
Our call specialists are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and at night we contract with Houston to take over the evening ones.
Okay.
And so we encourage people, if you need to call at 2 a.m., you need to call at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You'll be talking to somebody, in another part of the state. But if you call during business hours, then it's a local. They know exactly. They don't have to just give you an address. They can say, oh, go here and talk to Jeff, and that's kind of that human connection. So that's why it's really important to have kind of that local sense, I think.
Yeah, it seems like it would be very comforting. Very
much. And a lot of us at United Way and 211 are deeply familiar with living in Alice. So it instills a sense of empathy, I think.
Yeah. I think it's really helpful to name how difficult it is to navigate, like, adulting, even in the best in the best of cases.
It really is.
I had this unnerving situation the other day where I needed a non-emergent x-ray, and my insurance company was telling me that I needed to go to have like full coverage or whatever of my very, very good insurance, like naming my privilege there. But I needed to go to not an urgent care, not an emergency room, not my doctor's office, a standalone clinic that had imaging.
Okay.
And like my powers combined, actually I called my brother-in-law, who is an emergency room physician, not in Amarillo, so he doesn't know. And I was like, what is this? And he was like, I do not know.
Like, that's not comforting.
I was just like, how? how complicated are these systems that we live in every day that in a non-emergent situation, I can't, thank goodness I just ended up not getting an x-ray for my kid because he was kind of blowing it out of proportion. But like, and that's kind of what I always think about is like, and then you add challenges, you add language barriers, you add, time constraints, you add bandwidth, all of the things that make it exponentially more difficult.
Yes.
And add higher stakes. And sometimes I just don't even understand how people get themselves out of some very, very tough situations. And so taking a real long road to it, I think it's really, really helpful to have someone that you can call and to know that you're talking to another Amarillo community member that cares and has knowledge and has databases and understands perhaps a bit better. And you can ask them for help.
It is incredibly comforting, and you're right that even those of us who are privileged, adulting is hard.
Yeah.
When I first moved here, just getting a driver's license was shocking how complicated that was. And I can only think, and I'm like, oh, I'm in my late 30s at the time. What am I going to do? Call my parents, and And so if you add that to, but you're also struggling to feed your family or find childcare. All of that stuff, it compounds, and it's very overwhelming. It causes it exacerbates mental health issues, which is another barrier. It exacerbates them. Sometimes it's the catalyst for them. It really is incredibly complicated. So one of the stories we've heard, especially with some unhoused people, GSRC, Guy on Saunders Resource Center, is a day shelter. We fund them. And a story that we hear so much is people want to get a job, but they need a driver's license first. And in order to get that, they need a birth certificate. And if they don't have it, then what do you do? And the bad part is I don't know. I think the 211 folks could try to help them solve it, but if someone were to come to me and ask, what do I do? 211, I really wouldn't know where to begin.
Yeah.
And that's a really, really common one that we hear. They don't have a birth certificate, so they just kind of don't exist. And maybe they come from a background where their parents didn't keep it or whatever, they lost it.
Sure.
They just had more important things to worry about.
Sure.
It's very common, unfortunately. But you're right, adulting sucks.
Yeah, it does. So similarly to the question I asked you about your ministry in Kansas City, what are some things that you've uniquely learned in your position in the United Way about Amarillo?
I know that people of Amarillo are well known, for being friendly and helpful and whatnot, which I think it's more so than a lot of people might realize. So I've lived in mostly the central part of the country, but inner city and rural and whatnot, and suburban, and Amarillo is easily I find to be the most generous, helpful people. I feel like in most communities, you have a kind of a small contingent of people who are really helpful, a small contingent of people, pardon my language, wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire.
Sure.
And then it's kind of like a bell curve. The majority, probably good people, they just maybe don't want to get involved.
Yeah, mind their own.
Mind their own, yeah. What do they always say? In an emergency, you should never cry out help. You should point at somebody and say, oh, in the blue shirt, call 911. I think the overwhelming majority of people in Amarillo are not that. They really will help each other if they can. So that's what I've learned of it.
Yeah. What drives you in this work?
Originally, definitely my faith.
Sure.
Matthew 25, Jesus talks about the least of these, and that's still a driving factor. Mostly it's really knowing that we can't make major shifts. We'd love to, but knowing I get to get up and I'm privileged to do this work. And I kind of feel, because I am very lucky in life, that I really just kind of have an obligation to my fellow human being to help them.
I think sometimes whenever I think about community impact work or get to talk to people who are kind of in it, one of the questions I think about is like how easy it is to get overwhelmed with the size and complication or complexity, I guess, of the problems that we're trying to address.
Yeah.
Do you experience that? And if so, have you found a way to kind of like break through those feelings?
I think everyone does. It's easy to get overwhelmed and get discouraged. The thing we do, our staff is incredibly close, really tight knit. We rely on each other. We also cling to the little victories we have. We cling to those small victories when we hear stories of people who are able to pull themselves out or be pulled out or mutually are able to get out of the situation. It also, what we really like is when different of the program providers we fund will think of a new angle on how to help people. So one of the things that springs to mind, Family Support Services has the only family violence shelter in Amarillo.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years ago, they discovered that a lot of people who were being abused they had reluctance to leave because they had a pet at home. And oftentimes, even if they were able to leave, that pet would be used as leverage.
Oh, sure.
Come back or I'm going to hurt the dog
Yeah.
or whatever. And so Family Support Services has a pet shelter on site there that they kind of developed. And it's weird that we cling to the small victories, but we also cling to the victories we'll never know about. But knowing that shelter gets used a lot, the pet shelter does, knowing that they started that and we get to be a part of that story, we know there's got to be people who otherwise would have been in a situation that now they're not in, or at least got temporary reprieve from.
Well, and I think whenever, if you name that more than half of our population is, one, we've been kind of going to the flat tire thing away, one inconvenience away from being in a really bad position, then you also get to name that if you're able to remedy one of those relatively small inconveniences, how bad of a situation you have kept them from.
Very much. And yeah, it's like I said, it's victories we won't ever, strictly speaking, know that we had, but victories we know we had. Yeah. And our program providers, they do such amazing work. They're always really good about telling us about that. And since we have such a wide spectrum of them, we get to hear a lot of those. So one of the really fun ones that's very fun but visceral, that the victory we know we have is Family Care Foundation has a dental clinic. And it's the only completely free dental clinic in Amarillo. There are other places that are kind enough to do reduced charges, but they're the only place that's completely free. And this hits at such a human level. You got to think, if you have an abscessed tooth, one of the most miserable things on earth, and there's a population where for them, their options are either live with it, get a pair of pliers, or Family Care Foundation. And knowing that's not something we even need to quantify. At a human level, we know there's people out there who otherwise they would just have to be in excruciating pain every day, and simple procedure they don't have to. Yeah. Those are the ones that keep us motivated. Mm-hmm.
What gives you heart in the work or hope in the work? I think there are a lot of challenges right now for nonprofits due to funding and benefits being cut and just all sorts of things. What are you guys kind of like honing in on?
How many of the nonprofits really try to kind of help each other out and convene? That's kind of our ethos, is to collaborate and convene and bring people together. Our CEO, his unofficial slogan is "We know a guy." That's been so fun to do, to be able to bring hope to people, knowing we can't fix it, and it's not always just our program providers. It's also just other nonprofits, just friends. We have distribution lists on our email. One is program providers, the other is just friends of United Way, people we know that we're able to be friends with. That definitely brings us hope, knowing how many people are working toward that. That being said, I don't know if Amarillo needs as many nonprofits as we have.
I know, that's always the conversation.
Yeah, but there are some who are doing fantastic work, even outside our program providers, that we're just happy to be alongside with them.
Does your marketing feel like a shot in the dark? Are your social media posts getting lost in the scroll? Unlock your business's potential with SKP Creative. They know your audience and design posts that reflect your brand and drive real engagement. From scroll-stopping social media content to powerful traditional marketing, graphic design, and website development, SKP Creative covers it all. Are you ready to elevate your feed and turn your marketing into a success story? Visit skpcreative.com today. I'm back with Adam Leathers. This is the part of the show I call 8 Straight.
Mhm.
I've got 8 questions for you. You can answer them in as much or as little detail and however you would like.
Okay, excellent.
Wonderful. When you think of Amarillo 10 years from now, what do you hope for?
I would hope for kind of a larger diversity of thinking, but also a reduction in tribalism. And I say tribalism, I mean, that's a loaded word. And I don't just mean the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you know what I mean. But also in terms of maybe people caring about situations that don't affect them. We found it's really easy to get people motivated for something or a cause if they've experienced it or if they know someone who has. I would hope that in 10 years, more people would, even if they've never been unhoused or don't know anybody who's been unhoused, it still matters to them.
Yeah. Other than wind, what does this area have too much of?
Startup nonprofits, they're of course always born out of, really great intentions. So often it's kind of reinventing the wheel. And so when people will want to start these, we really try to kind of direct them. And Family Support Services is a good place. They do so many things. Statistically, they might already be doing something if a person thinks about. So that's kind of a mean answer, but
Well, I think it's really fair, and it's something we've kind of touched upon a couple of times just here in the last couple of minutes. So I think it's fair to validate, like if someone wants to do a good thing. And so what do you tell people to do with that motivation to help those around them in X area of interest?
we have a massive list of volunteer opportunities, some with us, some with our program providers, some with our friends. It's not hard to find. Hands on Amarillo is another great resource. It is almost certain if whatever you're wanting to do, it's already being done and they could use more people. That's what we really try to direct people toward. I'm a volunteer with Texas Ramp Project, so I gotta plug them. We can always use more volunteers with them too.
And that's building ramps for handicapped homes, correct?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
And I really got to brag on them. It's very exciting. Each section of Texas has their own kind of chapter. And the most prolific of the builders in Texas is Dallas in terms of real numbers. The number of ramps that the Panhandle builds is slightly beneath Dallas
Wow.
in terms of real numbers, but per capita, the Panhandle Texas chapter is far and away the most prolific ramp builders in the state. So it's around this time of year, it's just about every Saturday there's somebody out building a ramp.
That's cool.
Yeah, so there's always a place.
So call the United Way, put that money, put those man hours, put it to work.
Yeah,
You guys
absolutely.
have it.
There are plenty of opportunities.
Before you file that 501c3.
Very much. Somebody else is already doing it. It's a certainty.
Yeah. So what does this area not have enough of?
Cooperation, I think, and I think we're friendly, but oftentimes we do let division kind of build up between us, and I think a little more of that would be helpful.
Adam, what's your favorite local building?
I would.
And does it have a ramp? No.
I think it does. Yeah. I would. My inclination is to say Lowe's since I'm there all the time.
Okay, very good, very good.
But realistically, I really like the Amarillo Area Foundation building.
Oh yeah.
It's really cool. It strikes this very professional, but you feel really comfortable, slick but homey type of place. And I also love the people there, so I'm sure that kind of affects it. But
Yeah.
This building's cool though too.
Yeah, the IO. It is a
Yeah.
good building. I love both of them. Yeah, the foundation is so cool. I think it's just like 3 years old now.
Yeah, just a couple of years.
Yeah, I was just driving by it on the way here, actually. And one of the things I love about that, they built that to sort of be like a community center. So, nonprofits can use the rooms and stuff. And they have an absolutely packed parking lot this morning. And it was so fun to drive by. And it's so funny that you mentioned that because I just, in my mind, went like, I wonder what really incredible work is being done in that building with that packed parking lot this morning.
Certainly something. Yeah. When one of the things that we started a few years ago are care kits, and we do. I think they're around 1,000 a year, and they're kits for people who are living on the street. So granola bars, hand warmers, socks, gloves, real basic stuff. And what they're designed to do is keep in your car. And when you meet or see an unhoused person, you'd give it to them. And originally, I'll acknowledge I had a little bit of malice when we kind of designed these. I really wanted to eliminate the excuse of not interacting with unhoused people because I don't want to give them money, but I don't know what to do. Big air quotes. And so I wanted to eliminate that to where people would either, okay, they have this thing, they would have to interact or confront the fact that you don't want to talk to them. Just
You're
admit it.
avoiding. Yeah.
It's fine. You're just avoiding it. I bring that up, and it's connected to Amarillo Area Foundation. One of the first things they did when they opened is asked us for a bunch of those because of their location. So when unhoused people would come in, they would have something to give them. That's their spirit in a nutshell. Fantastic, amazing people over there, I think.
Are the care kits, is that a good idea? I kind of ask selfishly because my kids wanted to do something to help unhoused people that we were seeing on our way to school. And so we made a bunch of them. And I actually put 2-on-1 flyers in them, and I was really proud of myself for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, I think it's always really, really important to think about or to find out from experts such as you guys at the United Way if the way that you are helping is truly helpful.
It is, and I'll tell you what, how we figured out what goes into a care kit is we went to unhoused people and we asked, what do you want? Cool. If somebody in a car handed you something, what's an immediate thing that you would want right away? And we also have a map of Amarillo that lays out bus lines, and on the back, a list of every resource for an unhoused person in Amarillo and a phone number and whatnot. And one of the fascinating things we learned is when putting these care kits together, we asked unhoused people, what would you want? And a lot of them socks, and that was exciting. They liked the stuff we came up with. And we asked, well, would you want deodorant? And they all said, no, not really. But they all collectively said we would love toothbrush and toothpaste. Okay. And the reason that was pivotal for us is because it kind of confronted our assumptions in that you brush your teeth kind of for you because, it feels good and your teeth are nice and slick and you feel fresh. You tend to wear deodorant for other people. And it really kind of hit us between the eyes. Yeah, with saying, oh, do you want deodorant? It's making this implication, oh, I think you need this. You
to
stink.
make others more comfortable
to
or
make
something.
others feel more
I
comfortable.
follow.
So it was a good lesson for us when they said, no, we're good, but definitely toothbrush and toothpaste. So they're in there now.
Cool.
Yeah.
We're going into the holiday season, and I would think that now would be a really good time. Maybe that families, I know a lot of times in the holidays, families are looking for ways to do volunteerism or do acts of kindness, stuff like that. So it sounds like, if somebody called the United Way and wanted to get a list of what you guys have deemed to be helpful to put in care kits, I assume you guys would let them know.
Oh, absolutely.
Pick up those maps and stuff.
Oh, sure. We'd be happy to. And a huge list of opportunities to volunteer.
Always.
I would definitely encourage people, if you're feeling the bug to volunteer, do it in January and February. Around this time of year, it's a lot of places, because it's close to the holidays, they almost have a waiting list of people who want to participate. So the church that I used to pastor for prison inmates, we would also have unhoused people come in, and we would have a Christmas Eve service. And we had a 4-year waiting list of people who wanted to come in and which is nice. Yeah. But we would always say, no, but can you come back next week? And always, no, we really wanted to. And so we kind of had to roll our eyes. But when people would want to kind of come in there and do that, we would say that's great. But, like I said, you're already a few years back to do it. So I would really hope people would volunteer. And January, February are really tough times to find volunteers for anything.
I think that's another. We've really gone off the rails on this favorite local building question, but it's really, I really think this is really interesting and important again to make sure that the help that you're giving is in fact helpful.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Thank you for that.
Sure. Sorry.
What's your favorite local restaurant, Adam?
Cask and Cork. They're a short answer. Yeah.
Cool.
I don't go there often. My wife doesn't like it.
She doesn't.
She doesn't. So
Your split house.
Split house. Yeah. So Cask and Cork. I'm sorry if you're listening. It's not your fault. But I love it to death.
I also really like Cask. How do you describe Amarillo to people outside the area?
As I kind of alluded to before, that there is such a larger population of people who are genuinely helpful. I didn't grow up in the South, so I found a lot of people in the South to be polite and friendly, but really kind of bordering on kind of this passive aggressive Southern type of thing. I don't get a lot of that in Amarillo. I think people genuinely do care. A lot of people just don't know how to help, or a lot of people just need help themselves.
Yeah, that's really valid. What's the most underrated aspect of living here?
People is a good one, but I think there's a lot more to do here than people might realize. Again, I lived in downtown Kansas City, and that was really cool. But I think that there really is something for everybody in Amarillo. I mean, you can go premier mountain biking and rock climbing, and go to a club and a bar and play pool and go to the theater and watch ballet and go to a show, all of that's within half an hour driving distance.
Yep.
I've personally found, this is my opinion, nothing against the good people in Lubbock. I would hate to live in Lubbock. We've gone there and they have a Bass Pro. I haven't really found any reason to go there. I don't even like their breweries. I really like our breweries. So.
Yeah, I also am not hating on Lubbock, but I grew up closer to there, and there is a reason that I call Amarillo home.
Sure. Yeah, no, fine people down there. Good
That's
people.
Right.
They're United Way. We're friends with them. They're fantastic, but I'm quite content living here.
Yeah,
so.
Totally. When was the last time you went to Palladora Canyon? You just talked about biking and hiking and stuff, so that sounds like it's maybe your jam?
Very much, yeah.
Cool,
I think maybe a month or two ago, which is about the longest stretch I've gone since I've lived here for 6 years without going. So in the summer, about every weekend.
Yeah.
On Sundays. I love biking in the summer down there because nobody's there and I have the trail all to myself. The downside is... So
you go out there in the way hot?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The downside is obvious. I think the hottest I saw my car, and I know the temperature on your car is kind of misleading, but it's at 124. Wow. But I've always said as long as you just drink enough water, you'll be fine. And one of the things that's kind of trained me for that, here's a fun fact a lot of people don't know about me. For 3 or 4 years, I played Bucky, WT's mascot, as a volunteer. I don't do it anymore, so I can
see that one coming.
Yeah, so I can disclose this second life that I had.
You can't, when you're doing it, you can't tell anyone?
I tend not to. It just ruins the illusion. I don't think there's a rule or anything.
Okay.
But
you were Bucky.
That definitely. So in the past few years, if you've seen Bucky at a parade, I guarantee you that was me. And wearing that suit, it is indescribably hot. So the mountain biking's not bad. There's a breeze, at least.
You've acclimated.
I've acclimated, yeah. So that's a fun fact.
That is very fun.
Yeah, I was Bucky, and mushrooms grow in turkey poop. So
there we go.
That's the equivalent today.
There we go. All right, Adam, that concludes our 8 straight questions. I like to end by asking my guests to endorse something. So what would you have a listener know about, try out, be a fan of if they are not currently?
Something we talked about before, there's an opportunity for anybody to do some good and help. Even if you don't want to do it through the United Way of Amarillo and Canyon, you can go to Hands On Amarillo. There's an opportunity to do so much. I would encourage people to look at the opportunity.
Yep. I think that is absolutely excellent advice and something to endorse.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam, for joining us, and thank you for your work in our community.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
For sure. Get ready for unforgettable music from the Amarillo Symphony. On November 21st and 22nd, they'll take you on a cosmic journey with Holst's The Planets, featuring singers from West Texas A&M. Then celebrate the season at the beloved Happy Holiday Pops concerts. That's December 19th and 20th, and featuring special guest Annika Spalding from the Little Theater. These festive performances are the perfect way to ring in the holidays with your favorite seasonal music and joyful entertainment. Whether you're drawn to epic orchestral masterworks or holiday favorites, there's an exciting experience waiting for you. Don't miss a single note. Visit AmarilloSymphony.org for your tickets today. And that concludes the episode. Thank you to Adam for the interview. You can plug into the United Way by visiting their website, uwamarillocanyon.org. Thanks to Ingenic Dental Studio, SKP Creative, and the Amarillo Symphony for supporting this episode, and to Angelina Marie for editing every week. Thank you for listening. This has been episode 424 of Hey Amarillo. My name's Skylar Gallup, and we hope you'll come back next week.